Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is well. I'm very excited about the thought that I want to share with you this morning. I have an original interpretation of a Rashi. I have been Mavra Sedra for probably close to 60 years now. I don't want to give away my age. But every week I review the Parsha with the Rashi. And there's a Rashi in this week's Parsha that I always glossed over. I've read it countless times. And this week I was reading the Rashi and suddenly it popped out, jumped at me. And I had a very significant question on Rashi, and I believe I have a very beautiful, two beautiful answers that explain the Rashi and provide a very special insight that we could derive from the Rashi. The Rashi that I'm talking about is the following. When the angels came to Avraham, and the task of one of the angels was to inform Avram and Sarah that they were going to have a child. So the Chumash says that the angel, when he began to speak to Avram, he said, Ayeh Sarah ishtecha, where is your wife Sarah? And Avram said, Hineva Ohel, she's in the tent. So the Gemara says in Bava Metzia, which Rashi quotes, the Malachim knew where Sarah was. They were angels. Angels know everything. They were Malachim. So why were they asking Avram, Ayeh Sarah ishtecha? So Rashi says, Kedei l'chava al baila, in order to endear Sarah to her husband. How so? Because Sarah was at Tznuah. They knew she was in the tent. She was in the tent because she was modest. She stayed in the background. And they wanted to endear Sarah to Avram, and therefore they pointed out to him, Ayeh Sarah ishtecha, so that Avram should respond, Ohel, and he would realize how special Sarah was. So I had a very significant question. Rashi says that an angel could only do one task at a time. The reason why there were three angels that were sent to visit Avram was because one angel was going to overthrow Sodom and save Lot. One angel was there to heal Avram, and the third angel was to inform Abraham and Sarah they were going to have a child. So an angel is like a shliach. He's like an agent. God dispatches an angel, and he's able to fulfill one task at a time. So the angel that spoke to Avram and Sarah about having a child, his task, I don't know if angels are male or female, but whatever it is, the task of that angel was to inform Avram and Sarah they were going to have a child. Who asked the angel to engage in endearing Sarah to Avram? Why was that something that he should be paying attention to? That was not part of his assignment. His assignment was to inform Avram and Sarah they would have a child. So out of the clear blue, the angel decided he's going to ask Avram, Ayeh Sarah ishtecha, so she should be endeared to her husband. Why was that his business? I'm certain that Avram and Sarah were not in marriage counseling, and they no doubt had a terrific relationship. They were married already many decades. So the angel was not trying to correct a problem in their marriage, a strife. He wanted to enhance the marriage, to endear Sarah more to Avram. Why did he take that upon himself, that he's there for a certain purpose? Why was that his job? Why did he feel it's his position to endear Sarah to Avram? So I have two explanations that I want to share. One explanation one answer to my question is that the story of Avram in the beginning of Parashas Vayeira is you see Avraham as a Gomer Chesed, a person who has a tremendous love for doing acts of kindness, and his achnasas orchim is spectacular. Here are these three people wandering in the desert. Avram doesn't know, never met them before in his life. As far as he knows, they're idol worshippers because he had to wash the dust off their feet, because idol worshippers in those days would worship the dust. So he brings in these three idol worshippers into his house, and he treats them like royalty. He slaughters 3 calves for them, and each calf he wanted to provide a tongue. And then he baked bread, and he was running backwards and forwards, and he had the whole house in turmoil to be able to provide for these 3 guests that he until now He had no relationship with them. No doubt he spent, I don't know what a calf costs, but I'm sure it's hundreds of dollars. So he must have spent over $1,000 on these three anonymous guests. And the lesson that we could learn from here is that you see how much a person has to extend himself to do chesed. So somebody learning the parsha might say, you know what, that's very well for Abraham. He must have been a wealthy person, and therefore he could afford to slaughter 3 calves. I'm not wealthy. I don't have the resources to do chesed anywhere near what Abraham was able to accomplish in his lifetime. And therefore, the lesson from Abraham for many people will be irrelevant. He could afford to slaughter 3 calves, but I can't afford to give that much money to tzedakah or to help people in that significant way. For that reason, the angel said to Abraham, "Ayesar ishtecha," because he wanted to show Abraham that chesed does not require an enormous investment of resources. In fact, chesed can be done with totally cost-free, because all you have to do is say something nice to a person and give a person encouragement, and that is an act of chesed. The angel showed Abraham that simply by inquiring about Sarah, he didn't even give a direct compliment to Sarah, but simply by inquiring about Sarah and asking Abraham, so where's your wife? And Abraham would say, she's in the tent, and then he would realize, wow, you see how spectacular my wife is? And Abraham knew all these things before, no doubt he knew that she was a tzenua. But it was added a little bit extra that the angels pointed out to Abraham that your wife is in the tent, and you see that a chesed doesn't have to cost a penny. And unfortunately, when it comes to doing chesed, people are oftentimes stingy. They can't, just like people can't part with their money. People are unable for reasons I don't understand, but they're unable to say something nice to another person, to offer a good word, to say a good morning with a big smile, to give people encouragement, to offer a compliment to somebody. What does it cost to do all those things? It costs absolutely nothing, and yet it could make there are people who are depressed, people that need encouragement, people who are uncertain of how they're doing, and all you have to do is say something nice to them, and it could change their whole day and perhaps even their whole life. In Vayeira, when Yaakov gave the brachos to his children, so the bracha that he gave to Yehuda, one of the brachos was uleven shinayim michalav. So the plain meaning is that the whites of the teeth, the members of the tribe of Yehuda had very white teeth. The reason was from chalav, uleven shinayim. The white of their teeth came from chalav, from milk, because there's abundance of milk in their portion of Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara says another explanation. The Gemara says, Gadol hamalbin shina v'chaveiro yoser imashkei chalav. A person who shows the whites of his teeth, uven shinayim, the loven of the shinayim, the white of the teeth, mechalav, is more important and significant than milk. What does that mean? It means that if a person comes to you and he's suffering from malnutrition and he can't even afford to buy a bottle of milk, and you give him milk to drink, and it's refreshing for him, and it perhaps even saves him from illness. More significant than that is the leven shinayim, is that you show him the whites of your teeth. When do you show the whites of your teeth? When you smile. That's when people see the whites of your teeth. So the Gemara is saying a smile is worth more than providing the ani, the poor person, with resources. So you'll say, what do you mean? The milk, if the guy is so poor that he doesn't have milk to drink and he's dehydrated, so the milk is saving his life. The smile, okay, it's a nice thing, he smiles, but why is that more significant than giving him milk? So the answer is because more than anything else, people crave recognition, and people crave that other people should pay attention to them and treat them with dignity and a sense of importance. And that is what, so the ani, he doesn't have milk to drink, so he's on the threshold of dehydration. But more important to a human being than the physical needs is the emotional needs, that a person should feel that somebody else cares about them, that somebody's happy to see them, that somebody considers them to be an important person. The smile is worth $1,000,000. The milk, maybe it's worth $100 for this poor person, or 500, whatever it is. But a smile could be worth $1,000,000. What does it cost to smile at people? Nothing. It's free. And that was the lesson that the Malachim were giving to Avram. Yes, you did do your Gemilas Chesed and your Hachnasas Orchim. Phenomenal, off the charts. But we don't want to leave with the impression that the only way to do Chesed is to spend a lot of money, and that people who are not wealthy are eliminated from being involved in acts of Chesed. It's not true. All you have to do is say a nice thing to a person. The Malach pointed out to Avram, your wife is a tznuah. Avram knew that already, but he felt a little bit better that somebody else, an outsider, made that observation, that look at your wife, she's a tznuah, she stays in the ohel, and that gave Avram a certain sense of pride. And to the Malachim we're pointing out, it cost nothing to do chesed. And sometimes that type of chesed is even more, just like the smile is more important, more significant than the milk. So smiling at a person, or giving them encouragement, or making them feel good. You give a compliment to somebody about either their spouse or a family member. That may be worth far more than spending $1,000 to slaughter 3 animals to provide the tongues to them. So that's my first thought, that the angel needed to teach this lesson to Avram, even though his main purpose there was being dispatched to teach Avraham and Sarah, that to tell Avram and Sarah they would have a child, but he couldn't let go this message, because otherwise there would have been distortion of what took place when Avram was machnas orach, and it would give the impression that that's the only way to do chesed. The other thought I had was the following, that the reason why the angel wanted Avram to feel good about his wife Sarah, he gave Avraham a sense of pride about Sarah. The reason he did that was because a human being has to look for opportunities to make other people feel good. To be mahana, in Yiddish you say the mahana yid, to give, or mahana is a Hebrew word, to give pleasure to another Jew. People have to look for such opportunities. It's part of the human condition. That's human nature. That people people are very social. Everybody wants to have friends. Nobody wants to live alone. You put a person in solitary confinement, that's an unusual and cruel punishment. The character, the core nature of human beings is that we're social, and that we interact with each other, and that we do chesed with each other. The pasuk says, "Olam chesed yibana." The world is built on chesed. Without chesed, the world couldn't function, because we're so all interdependent on so many people. You go shopping in the store. If people wouldn't be working in the store, they wouldn't put the food out on the shelves. If they wouldn't be cashiers, if there wouldn't be truck drivers, you wouldn't have anything to eat. All those people, the whole chain of people that are involved in chesed, the whole society, everyone is interconnected. And the world is built on chesed. And it's part of the human, the nature of a human being is to have a natural desire to want to do chesed for another Jew, to make another Jew, or even a non-Jew, to make a person feel good. And the malachim didn't need. My question was, this malach had one task. His task was to inform Avram and Sarah they would have a child. So why is he doing other things? He didn't have a commandment to do that, and angels are only supposed to do one task at a time. The answer is, the angels were assigned to pretend that they were human beings. They masqueraded like people. They were angels, but they masqueraded like people. They came to Avram and they sat down and they had a meal. That was part, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent the angels there, so we don't know exactly what the conversation was, but he said to them, listen, I want you to pretend that you're human, even though you're angels. Make believe you're eating the food. Let Avram feel good that you're eating the meal that he prepared for you. Part of being human is the capacity to give compliments and the capacity to make another person feel good, and that Avram should have a sense of pride about his wife. That is part of being human. And the angels didn't need an additional set of instructions to tell them, you know what, when you go there, this is what you should do. You should say, Ayeh Sar Ishtecha. They were simply fulfilling their role of being human. And a human being, by nature, is somebody that looks for opportunities to give pleasure to another person. So why is it that people don't do it? Because there's all sorts of internal forces that hold a person back. A person has other emotions in a person. There's jealousy, and there's anger, and there's hostility, and that interferes with the natural character of a human being. By nature, people want to be nice to each other. People want to make other people feel good. It's just that the negative midos that people have get in their way, and they interfere. But when the angels came to Avraham, they didn't have bad midos, and therefore that was part of pretending to be a human being. That he found an opportunity how to give a compliment to Sarah. That was part of being a human being, and he was instructed to be a human being, to pretend to be a human being. So the inherent in that was that he should find an opportunity to make Avram feel good and give a compliment to Sarah. Both lessons tied together, both, either explanation, I think they're both very nice, but they tie together, and that is that it's all the same idea. Chesed does not cost anything. Chesed is free. You could do chesed literally all day long, day and night. There's countless opportunities. If the angels found a way to do chesed with Aram simply by asking, Ayeh Sar Ishtecha, it was like such a trivial question, but there was a way to make Sarah more beloved to her husband. And we all have that capacity throughout the day to smile at people, to make people feel that they're important. When we talk to people, to treat them with chashivus, to treat them with a sense of significance and importance. A smile, they say, could be worth $1 million. So and then to give a person a compliment and to build them up. And there's so many people that feel dejected and depressed, and even just to say hello to people. There are people that feel, especially now in the pandemic, people feel so isolated. You call somebody up and you say, hi, how are you? How are you doing? I know many times when I, as a rabbi, part of my responsibility is to be in touch with people, and people are going through difficult times. I stay in touch with them. People are so moved when I call them to say, I'm calling just to find out how your mother is doing. Or you know that problem you spoke to me about a month ago, it hasn't been resolved. Why is it so moving? Because people see you care. And that does so much for the individual. Everybody wants to know that there's other people that care about them. So the lesson to take away is that if the angels, who were not human beings, if they said to Avraham, because they wanted Avraham to feel good about his wife Sarah. So if an angel could do it, we certainly could do it. And that's part of our human nature, except that all our midas get in the way. So we have to overcome that. And we have to constantly find, there's throughout the day, there's innumerable opportunities. We always have to find as many opportunities as possible to make other people feel good by the things that we say and the things that we do.